Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. Well, you guys, I have an amazing show for you today, as always. Coming up after we do a couple hot topics, I've got one of the most compelling interviews I think I've ever conducted with a woman who found out that the man that she was married for the last 10 years, father of her children, was a completely other person in the most shocking way. So I'm excited for you guys to listen to that. Get ready. But first, I want to introduce you to the newest member of our family. This is Mochi. 6 is her maiden name. She is now part of our family, so she's Mochi 6 McDonald Dobias, which is my married name. So she is a beautiful Persian cat that I adopted from my friend Courtney 6. Courtney and her husband Nikki 6 from Motley Crue have moved to Wyoming, and I was there to have just one last meal in her house here in California. And she mentioned that they were looking to have the cat stay in California with another family. And I was like, oh my God, that's all Brandon said he wanted. He said he wants a cat. He misses Simba. And she goes, well, she is older. I go, I don't care. We like older cats. And she won't go outside. Good. I don't want my cat to go outside. And but I was kind of like not totally sure. And then I proceeded to have a lot of wine. And I'd driven there, so I'm a responsible person. So I called my son Drake and I said, we're going to leave my car here tonight. You're going to have to come pick me up. Also, there's a cat I'd like you to meet. So come inside the house. And sure enough, Drake met her and felt very compelled to make her our sister wife. And she is a little older than we thought. We both thought that we heard that she was 7, but she is 14 and will be 15 in March. So Brandon and she will be celebrating their birthdays just a couple of months apart. She is extremely mellow, being that she is a very elderly cat. We've basically adopted a pillow, but the pillow is sweet. It purrs, absolutely cuddles with everyone in the family. You can pick her up, and we got her groomed. We're taking her to the vet for her shots, and here we go. So this is my cat. Mackenzie was very excited because I said she just came home last night for Thanksgiving, and I said, you finally have the sister that you wanted, because Raven, our other female dog, for some reason is not that into Mackenzie. She is only into Peter and Drake. So we have balanced out. Now there's 3 old women living in the house, myself being one of them, Raven, the retired show girl breeder dog that we adopted a couple months ago, and now Moochie, who is Mochi. You can call her either. We can call her either. I call her Mochi some days. I call her Moochie others. Mochi, like the little rice ball. She's led a rock star life with Nikki. She's, she has downsized to a much smaller home, as older people do, from their house to mine. But she seems very, very happy. And she just putzes around, and then she meows, and then I just feed her a couple times a day and make sure that Raven doesn't take her food. And she's pretty happy. So there you guys go with my juicy story. I'm going to post some more stuff on social media about the night. And it is interesting when you get drunk and take home a cat. It is, because I came home and Peter was like, what? I go, we have a cat now. And she gave us the crate. She gave us the stuff. She gave me the vet's information the next day. And, she's been well taken care of all these years. And I've been sending Courtney photos of the cat, loving everyone in the family, which is making her obviously very happy. And so it is interesting. I've never brought home an animal before. I don't know if anybody else has gotten drunk and taken animals home before, but you know what? It's kind of a great way to go. I mean, some people take a little goodie bag home. Some people take, maybe a little gift or the flower arrangement. I took a live animal. So that's what happens when you get a little buzzed and you're me. Okay, you guys, Lori Loughlin's daughters, according to People magazine, are having a very difficult time, as expected, with their mother being in prison. Her date to get out is December 28th. She's hoping to get out a couple days before Christmas. But the dad is now in prison as well, and he is there until April. And obviously, it's hard on the girls, but I think they should call the Giudice girls. Now, maybe they've already been in contact, but wouldn't that be the person to talk to? Is those teenage girls? I think that if they haven't already gotten together, I think they should get together. And if we're able to film with COVID, I think that would be kind of a great episode of something. Like, I don't know. I just been hanging out with Dr. Drew. I'm thinking so many people missed celebrity rehab. There's so many alcoholic housewives. I think you could do real alcoholic housewives rehab or celebrity housewife rehab, something. I think we could do that as a show. And I think we could also do celebrity kids whose parents have gone to prison, boot camp or something, and talk about it. Maybe like a one-off. I don't know, just a show idea, throwing it out there, everybody, trying to help the world. Okay, our girl Megan Fox, madly in love with Machine Gun Kelly. We're seeing it play out on Instagram. We're seeing her and Brian Austin Green get pissed at each other. Who's the better parent? Well, she is no stranger to tattoos. She doesn't have a ton, but she's had plenty. Some removed, some changed. She just got this tattoo right under her collarbone, which I don't know. I think that's a little too close to the face and to the perfect body, but hey, it's a little handwriting, and it's El Pistolerio. Now, I did not take Spanish, but pistol is basically in this word. So they think it is ode to her lover, Machine Gun Kelly, because El Pistolero means the shooter in Spanish. So they went to some awards show last night. He just wore just a jacket and a pearl necklace, and then just all his tats on his body. And I mean, I'm sure they'll be together forever. I don't know why anyone would question that. Okay, you guys know I've talked about Charlotte Kirk for the last couple years. This is the story. I'm not going to go through it all because it's so long and juicy. I'll summarize it for you. This actress who came from Kent, England, ended up meeting a powerful Hollywood mogul in London, then came to New York, constantly followed up on these people that she was meeting. There's so many players in this, from Brett Ratner to Mariah Carey's ex-fiance, whose last name is Packer, all of it. And the stories have come out. She got a huge payout for signing an NDA, never talking about it. But now there's been a new law in California that I guess has made these NDAs no longer not valuable, but they don't have to be respected. And so she was able to give her interview to an extent, open her silence a little bit to Los Angeles Magazine about what happened, and people are very thrilled that she's able to speak about it, and that other people that have signed NDAs when it comes to sexual harassment or sexual assault can now speak. Doesn't matter that they got paid off. They can now speak. And that is pretty fucking juicy, and I'm very excited for it because I don't know, but I don't know that these women are going to want to talk, because if they do talk, what if some of these people went on to huge stardom, and you think they want to now reveal, yeah, actually I slept with this person and this person, and then you're going to like, oh, well, you got those jobs. Yeah, but it was really awful that I slept with them, but then I got this job. Like, they're going to keep their mouth shut. And the other thing that was interesting about this article was they talked a lot about the fact how she has been diagnosed with autism and Asperger's. And so the people that are very much for Charlotte Kirk's story and talking about her and truly seeing her as a victim feel that she was even taken more advantage of because of her autism and Asperger's. I can see that, but I also think, in my understanding of how people function with that diagnosis, oftentimes they're brilliant. I heard half of MIT has Asperger's. It can be a very they excel in other parts and then are a little bit socially awkward, which makes sense. The fact that she'd walk right up to these powerful men and like say what she wants and be direct could be a part of that. And then the other part that I find interesting is the way she was smart enough to like write these texts to these powerful men, put it in writing, saying like, she literally has texts that said, well, remember you said you'd give me a part in the movie when we were having sex in your hotel room last night. Put it in the text. And then she'd also send sexy texts of like, ooh, I'm thinking about you, and heart emojis, and really make these people that she had multiple relationships with multiple people think that she was really into them. And then when she'd get the part, she'd be like, really? Only 2 lines after everything I've done with you sexually? I'm only getting 2 lines. I mean, it is incredible. Well, now she's free to speak. She's writing movies. She has a fiance or a boyfriend that is the director that they're doing movies together. She got several $1 million. And who knows, there might even be more to tell if she wants to like make a whole book out of this. I don't know if this was the maximum amount that she could tell because the attorney was there for the interview. But it's really juicy. And I've said this from the beginning of the Me Too, Harvey Weinstein. God, I want to know the girls that found themselves in a position where they were convinced or sought it out. I don't know how it happened, but in getting the role, a sexual relationship was part of getting that role. And what women would actually come out and say it. Say they were victims or say I pursued it or whatever they want to see it. I am not judging it. I just want to know the juice because I unfortunately walked around Hollywood waiting to audition and then for someone to say yes to my shitty audition, and nobody did. Nobody asked me to sleep with them either. I didn't ask to sleep with people to get a part, and hence why I'm here now. I'm happy the way it worked out, but you know, some people are just not as patient as I. And they're like, yeah, whose dick do I need to suck to get in this movie? Oh, yours? Okay, let's do that. I'm on it. Hey, I just want to know. Okay, you guys, I am so excited to have you listen to this interview. It is mature content. It is a serious subject. Please let me know what you think. And here is Brittanie Jenkins telling her story. Thank you. So I am so excited to be talking to another incredible person I discovered on TikTok, Brittanie Jenkins. And I've talked about my obsession with TikTok and how I found really interesting stories, and yours was one of them. So hello, welcome, Brittanie. Thank you for coming on Juicy Scoop. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And you were saying you were starstruck. Can I just hear a little bit more about that, please?
I am completely starstruck by you. Me and my brother are obsessed with you.
Oh, that's awesome. So when I reached out, then you knew who I was and everything.
Oh, yes. I freaked out whenever I saw you reach out to me.
Oh, that's awesome. And so anyway, you know, the way for people that aren't on TikTok, the way it kind of works, as I've said this before, you have like a For You page, and it's very interesting how everyone's feed kind of comes through. And along with in my feed, I have like a gender reveal and an engagement, and I have like a hot cop coming home to his wife, and like they know that I like all that stuff. But then I also get these like really intriguing life stories that can be very dark but triumphant. And yours, because I am, of course, intrigued, yours came through, and you're stunningly beautiful. So it's like, you know, you're attracted as you're going through to listen to this person. But I'm just going to let you kind of go with your story and why you decide to share it and what's happened since, and, you know, just like where you come from. Where do you live, first of all? What state are you in?
Well, we recently moved from Oklahoma City to Port Charlotte, Florida, because honestly, I have nightmares of my ex getting out of prison, and I'm terrified of him. So we moved across the country to get away from him.
Okay, so let's start with your story, because one of the videos I saw was that you had this picture perfect life, and the person you chose was a very attractive looking guy that anyone would be attracted to, anyone would be very comfortable with. And of course, that wasn't who he really was. So why don't you just begin of how you guys met and all of that?
Okay, so I was fresh out of high school and I went to a New Year's Eve party and I saw him across the room. And honestly, from that night on, we were inseparable. We got married a few months later. I know that sounds crazy.
So were you only 18?
I was 19.
Oh, okay.
I was 19.
How old was he?
He was 20.
Oh, okay. And how did your family feel about you guys moving that quickly into marriage?
They were super supportive of it, honestly. They loved him. He was pretty much like family to them instantly. And then we got pregnant with my son, Elijah. And we were married for 10 years.
And how many kids do you have?
We have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, Ruby and Elijah. Elijah is 8, almost 9, and Ruby is almost 5.
And being that you guys were so young, did you ever have any financial struggles as a young couple, or were you able to, get a nice home early on in your marriage?
We did have financial struggles, but we always overcame and paid for everything that needed to get paid for. And, we were living paycheck to paycheck, but what mattered most to us was our loving, happy family.
And what did he do for a living while you were having the babies and stuff?
He worked a lot of car salesman jobs. That was one of the issues with him, was he was always in and out of jobs. He could never keep a job. And after his arrest, I later found out that he had been lying to me about why he was getting fired from those places.
I was just going to ask, what were the reasons he said when all of a sudden he's leaving one job? What would he tell you?
So he would always come up with some crazy, elaborate stories, and I believed him. I mean, they made sense to me. Like, one of them was he was going to sell a set of wheels to a guy at the dealership. And I guess the guy supposedly tried it on his car, and he went inside his work to get something, and the guy took off with the wheels and stole $1,100 worth of wheels. And he said he got fired for that. I didn't really understand why, but he came up with some story that made sense. And then I later found out that he really got fired because he was watching porn on the computer at work.
Okay. So now, when did you, so he would tell you those stories and you'd believe him, just the bad luck that he had, being a trusting person of a customer that took off with the wheels. How old were you, and where did you first discover an issue, like that you were going, I don't think my things are just right?
Honestly, I didn't have that issue until after he was arrested.
So let's talk about that then. How did the arrest happen?
Okay, so it was January 17th, 2019. We were cleaning the house together, and we had church on our TV in the kitchen, and we were like dancing around, sweeping the floor together, having fun. And all of a sudden I see like all these guns at my back door, my sliding back door, like 6 different men with guns. And I was like, and then I hear the doorbell ring. And then the men at the back door started banging on the door saying, "Let us in, it's the police." And the moment I knew something was off was he looked at me and he said, "What do we do?" And to me, like any normal person that's not guilty of something, I think you just open the door. You don't wonder what you do. And I ran over there and I opened the door, and they pulled me outside and surrounded me with guns. And he ran the opposite way inside the house. Like, he never went outside. He ran the opposite way. And I later found out the reason he ran the opposite way was to go hide his phone under the bathroom sink. And the police went in, or the police actually, whenever they pulled me out, they showed me a picture of him and they said, "Is this your husband?" And I had never seen that picture before. And I was like, "Yes, that's my husband. Why? What's going on?" And they said, "He is being charged with 4 counts of child rape." And at that point, my brain was like in a whole different dimension or something. Like I was seeing tunnel vision. I felt like I was going to pass out. I thought they had the wrong person.
And were your kids at the
they tried
home?
it.
Were your kids at the home at the time that the police arrived?
So Ruby was taking a nap and Elijah was, thank God, at school. But, and I'm so glad she was taking a nap at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very respectful of that. And they didn't wake her up or anything. They did. So they took him out of the house and they put him in the car. And they came back in and they said, "We have to find his cell phone." And I told him, "Well, it was just sitting in the kitchen on the countertop." And they were like, "Well, it's not there now. We have to find it or we're going to have to search your house and we don't want to wake your daughter up." So I heard him scream from the police car, "It's under the sink." I guess that was just his last chance to kind of help us.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't get raided. And then they took him away. And I was 5 minutes late at that point, picking my son up from school. So I had to get myself together, try to act normal and drive and go pick my son up from school. And I didn't know what was happening at that point. Like, I didn't know what to do from that point on.
So you get your son and you act like nothing's wrong. And then who's the first person you call to explain what's happening?
So I called my mom. She lives in Kansas. I lived in Oklahoma at the time. And I didn't really have to say much. All I said, I was crying. And I said, "The police just came and picked Lorenzo up." And she said, "I'm on my way." And she left right then and
Did you tell
flew
her
down.
Did you tell her why?
I did. She didn't believe it. She was like,
So
"There's
she's
no
like,
way."
"There's some crazy mix up. We got to get him some help."
Yes,
Some
exactly.
attorneys. Yeah.
Yep.
So she goes to get on a plane, and then are you just sitting there? Do you try to get a local attorney at that point? Like, what's your plan?
So from that point, I started researching like crazy, looking for lawyers. And what sucked so bad was this arrest happened on a Friday. And I wasn't going to be able to talk to the detective or anyone until Monday. So I had to go the whole weekend not knowing if this was a mistake or how to help him. I couldn't even talk to him till Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So I was researching lawyers. I called my brother and I asked him to come over and be with us. He didn't believe it either. He was completely shocked. We were all like, "They have the wrong person. Somebody's trying to screw him over or something somehow."
The photo that they showed you when you said, "I knew it was my husband, but it was a photo I'd never seen." Was it like a surveillance photo or something? What was the photo of?
It looked like a surveillance photo.
Of what? Him going into a place or?
It was just his face. It looked like a mugshot, but that's not
Okay.
possible because he had never been to jail. So that was confusing to me.
Okay. So tell us what happens next with this.
Okay. So my mom gets down. My brother comes over. They're helping with the kids. Monday comes around and the detective calls me and he told me to come up to the station. So I went up there and he said, "I know you don't believe this is real. So the first thing I'd like to do is have you identify him in the pornography so you can sit down and understand that this is very real. We don't have the wrong person." So he showed me and it was very well him, definitely him. And I felt like I was going to throw up.
So were the photos? So was it photos or video?
What he showed me was a photo. It was a screenshot.
And it was him with a child?
Yes.
And how old was the child?
She was 13.
And okay, so you see this, and it's them having intercourse,
Yes.
like on a child's bed. Do you have any idea where it took place?
So it wasn't my bed, thank God. And I have no idea what room that was. It was on a bed. He had, do you want me to tell you what I
Yes,
saw?
I want
Okay.
everything.
Okay. So he had her bent over on a bed, and the detective covered her private parts for me, but he was holding a phone in his hand pointed towards her butt. And then there was a dresser on the side of the bed with another phone propped up recording. And he had the most disgusted look on his face.
And so you didn't know, you don't know what house this was, but it wasn't your house.
It wasn't my house.
And so it must have been this child's house.
Yep.
And, okay, so you see that. Now, was she the only victim that they were, that they had?
There were 2 victims that we know of. And this is the real reason why I made the TikToks, because I'm hoping that more victims will come out. I know there has to be more that are just scared to say something. There's 2 victims that we know of, one of them that he made the videos with. And I think there were 5 different videos that he posted on the adult porn site. And then the other girl, he didn't make a video with her, but they were having conversations back and forth, sexual conversations.
And was she, so you don't know if they actually met in person?
No, I think they did.
And was she around the same age?
Yeah, she was the same age.
And did both these girls live locally, like close to you?
The detective told me that one of them lived in our neighborhood and the other one lived a couple miles down the street.
And so this adult porn that the adult site that he posted it on, was that a site that catered to pedophilia, or was it looked like a girl that could be 18, but they found out she was 13?
She did look a little bit older from what I could see, but I feel like sites like that should be more careful about that. I can't imagine how many other children are on those sites.
And so, so you see this, and now you know that, in fact, he is guilty because you know what your husband looks like. And they're telling you this, the detective's telling, what is your reaction?
I honestly can't put into words how I felt. There's no word to describe how I felt. I felt like the past 10 years of my life had been a complete lie and that I had been living with a monster. Like, that's the most betrayal somebody could ever feel. And then the detective pulls out a file that was like 2 or 3 inches thick and started reading me the conversations he was having with these girls and showing me the nasty, filthy, disgusting things he was doing. And that just freaked me out even more, knowing that I was living with somebody that had 2 different personalities. He never showed me an evil side. So I was living with somebody that was good and evil. And the detective told me he has never in his career met somebody like this that could shut one personality off and flip on the other.
So in your marriage, he was a loving father. He was a good husband, like cleaning the house, watching church, got you, Valentine's Day cards. You guys always had a normal sex life?
We had a normal sex life up until a year before his arrest. A year before his arrest, he stopped getting erections while we were having sex. And it caused major self-esteem issues with me, but I had to put that to the side. and try to help him and not make him feel bad about it. Because he was trying to tell me that he might have ED. Is that what it's called?
Erectile dysfunction.
Yes. So I spent hundreds of dollars on supplements and just trying to help him. And it never got better. It actually got worse. He got to the point where he just completely turned me down. So
that was a concern of yours, but it was never that you thought he was getting sexual gratification from some other entity or place or person.
Exactly.
So, okay, so you're sitting in the office, like, where do you go from now? You know, you have to now tell your mother, your brother that, you're not going to be helping him get away with this. I mean, so what is your plan from there?
Well, I have to tell you, one of the things that stuck with me that the detective told me was so the times that he did this was between 8 and 10:30 a.m. whenever he'd drop our son off at school. He would pretty much beg me to stay in bed and get sleep in because I was a stay-at-home mom. And he made it seem like a favor. And looking back on that disgusts me because he was taking advantage of that time to go prey on young girls in the neighborhood. And one of the things the detective showed me was a text that he sent a little girl while she was walking to school. He said she looks sexy with her backpack on.
He says that
walking to school.
To the girl?
Yes.
And so would these girls, were they like homeschooled? How could he visit them from 8 to 10? I assume their parents were gone and they either called in sick for school, or is that what they assumed?
Yeah, I think the girl was the one that he actually had sex with. She was skipping school.
And did he ever say how they found out? Was it just through the website, or did the girl's parents find out, or did she come forward?
So what happened was he actually texted the girl that he made the videos with and said, "How does it feel to be a porn star?" And she felt like she had no choice but to go to her parents and go to the police. The police started investigating him. And then the other girl that he was charged with, he actually went to her house and left a note on her front porch that said, "Here's my Snapchat, contact me here." And the dad found the note and the dad turned it into the police. So how he...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So ultimately how he got caught was the porn star thing. And what's creepy about that is he used to get livid with me if I ever said the word porn star. That is one of the weird things that I look back on now, that I never understood why he got mad about the word porn star.
Like, give me an example of a conversation of how you might have used it and then him freak.
Okay, so I'd be like, back when I was a teenager, I used to have people tell me all the time that I looked like a porn star, just joking around.
Yeah.
And then he would freak out. "Don't use that word in this house. That's a filthy word. Don't ever talk like that." Yeah. And it never made sense because I'm like, what? That's not even a bad word.
And so did you ever find out how he originally found these girls and started to prey upon them?
So how he found them was he made a fake Facebook account that he had me blocked from. And he had an alias, and the name was Frankie Garcia. And he would add these, I don't know how he found them, but he would add the girls on that Facebook, have conversations with them, and then eventually meet up with them.
Would he say he was a younger guy, like 19, or like, did he say he was, because how old was he at the time of the assault?
He was 30 at the time.
Did he present himself as a 30-year-old on this Facebook page?
No, he didn't. He said that he was 17 years old and he went to a local high school in our town.
And so when these girls originally started talking to him, they thought they were talking to a 17-year-old. But when they agreed to meet him in person, did they feel trapped? Were they already attracted? Do you know where their mind was in this, grooming and manipulation that they were under before the assaults?
That's what I would love to know, because he had gray hairs, he had wrinkles. He very clearly was not 17. So I'm assuming that he groomed them and manipulated them so well that they didn't care at that
Or they
point when
felt
they
they
met.
couldn't say no now
Or that,
because
yes.
they may have already, he could have almost blackmailed them with
That.
what they had already communicated over the internet, before they ever met in person. I'm going to tell
Oh
your
my God.
parents. I know that's happened a lot with, a particular when priests have molested high school boys. They originally invite them over and they act like they're buddies and they give them pot, they let them watch porn, and then they drink. And then when the assaults and the molestations start to happen, they're like, if you tell, we're going to tell your parents that you smoke pot and drink. And the kid is so, freaked out and feels dirty about it anyway. And they know that their parents would be mad about them using drugs and alcohol, that is the blackmail that they use.
I guarantee you that's what he did, because I know for a fact he was smoking pot with that girl.
Mm-hmm. So after you go home from that meeting. I mean, could you even drive yourself home after that detective meeting?
I am very surprised I was able to. My mom was like, do not drive if you can't drive. But I drove somehow.
And then when you told your parents that it's without a doubt he's done these horrific crimes, where did you go from there in protecting yourself, getting divorced, and separating yourself from this person?
That time period is like a huge blur to me. My
Yeah, I can
mom
imagine.
yeah, she had to be there for weeks with me, physically picking me up off the floor, forcing me to drink something, forcing me to eat. Um, it took me several weeks to finally get up and be like, okay, my mom had to leave. So I was like, I have no choice but to get up, take care of my kids, and start figuring out a divorce. So I actually tried to do the divorce by myself. That went on for months and months and months. I was up at the courthouse all the time, multiple times a week, trying to get all the paperwork done. And then finally, I met this attorney at the courthouse, and I told him my story. And he said he was going to take me on as a pro bono case,
Mm-hmm.
and he got it done for me.
And during that time, he's awaiting trial, or did he plead? What's going on with his criminal case?
So he took a plea deal, unfortunately. I was hoping so bad that it would go to trial because I wanted him to face his consequences. But he took a plea deal. He only got 15 years. But
Wow.
luckily, there's no statute of limitations. So hopefully some more victims will come forward and we can keep him in there.
So he got 15 years, and the prosecutor agreed to the plea deal because then that way the victims didn't have to go on trial or testify or anything. So it's kind of probably, just wanting to get these victims to heal a little quicker, not go through a secondary trauma of it. So he's doing 15 years in the prison in your state?
Yes, he's in Lawton, Oklahoma.
And is there any time before that 15 years that he'll be up for probation that you have to be concerned about?
I wish I knew how to look into that because I have
Mm-hmm.
no idea how to even look that up, but I'm terrified of that.
And what was your contact with him after that day of arrest? Was he calling the house? Was he writing you letters?
Yes. So that Monday after his arrest, he called me. And at first, I was in such a weird mindset. I was like, did you get molested? Like, what is this?
Like, where
I
did it
just
come
wanted to
from?
understand.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, was my whole life a lie? Are you a lie? You don't even love us. Like, I wanted to know answers. And he did tell me he got molested, but I was like, we have been married for 10 years and you have never once mentioned that to me. That is no excuse. It's no excuse. There's plenty of people that get molested and they don't go hurt other people.
And did he tell you who molested him, or did he get into details of that or the age that happened?
He said his cousin, when he was staying with his dad over summers, was molesting him. But I still don't think that's any excuse to go hurt
No,
people.
it's obviously it's not an excuse, and you're
Yeah.
right. There's plenty of molestation. Victims of assault and molestation do not go on to hurt other people. So, did he ever share when he started to dabble in this, and then go to the extreme of actually, raping a child? Did he share any of that?
In one of his letters he sent me, he did kind of go into that. He said that he tried to hold it in for so long and it just got bad towards the end. His mom did tell me after his arrest that whenever he was a child, he used to steal her underwear. And I thought that was a weird thing. I was like, why did nobody tell me any of this stuff before we got married? Why didn't I know about this? I think that's something very weird.
And what did happen with your in-laws? What was that like? Is she standing by her son? Are you allowing them to see your kids? Like, what is a person in your position to do?
She basically disowned him. And instead of having a son now, she has a daughter. And she is the best mother-in-law ever. She's the best grandma. We're super close to her. She's very supportive. She supports me telling my story. She's always encouraging me to tell my story to help other people.
And is this her only child?
She has another son.
And is he part of your family? And is he okay? Is she concerned that maybe he had been a victim of child abuse?
Luckily, they had two different dads, so he never went to that, around those people. Yeah. But I'm not really close with him at all. And I know for a fact he has completely disowned him. He doesn't even like talking about it.
So once he got sentenced, I mean, did the letters still come, or now he doesn't have your address? Or like, when did the final communication end?
Okay, so he kept sending me super manipulative letters talking about how we should still be a family, and he would go into all of our memories, like specific things, trying to make me remember stuff so I would feel bad and want to support him. And I didn't respond for a while. And then I finally got the nerve to write out a letter where I just went completely off on him. I still have a copy of that letter. I went off on him and I told him to go fuck himself, to be honest. And that's whenever they stopped.
And how long ago was that?
That was since last May.
And May of 2019. So he was arrested in January, sentenced everything that quickly.
He was sentenced in April.
And so what did you tell your children where their dad is?
Okay, so Elijah, our son, he was very, very close to him. They were best friends. Me, my mom, and my brother had to sit him down and tell him that your dad has made some very horrible decisions and he now has to face his consequences. Whenever adults make bad decisions, they have to go to jail. And we don't know how long he's going to be there, but we're here to support you through this. We are all hurt. We're all shocked. And you're allowed to come to us at any point and talk to us about it. And we got him therapy and stuff. But our daughter, she was too young to even know. She asked for a couple days, where's daddy? I'd say he's at work. And then eventually she stopped asking.
And how old are your kids now?
Elijah is 8 and Ruby is 4.
And so you got your divorce, you moved. And then when did you decide to start telling your story on social media? And was it only TikTok or did you do other platforms?
I started, well, right after his arrest, I made a post on Facebook just telling the story and letting everybody know what happened, because I'm very transparent on Facebook with my, followers. I didn't talk about it since then. TikTok was the first platform I started talking about it on. I just finally got brave enough and I was like, it's time. I'm out of Oklahoma. It's time to tell the story.
And how are you doing now in your home? And are you able to financially support yourself? Are you dating anyone? How is your day-to-day life going?
So I married my best friend.
Oh, so tell me about that. Let's have a happy ending to this nightmare. Okay, so I didn't know that. So tell us about how you fell in love again.
Oh my God. He was there for me through everything. To me, there's no time limit on love. A lot of people, I had so many hateful people, like, how could you move on so fast? How could you remarry that fast? But it's like, why would I, if I'm in love with somebody, why would I be like, oh, I have to wait till an appropriate amount of time to get married? No. So he helped me through everything. And we just fell in love and we got married last November 11th.
Oh, November 11th of 2019.
Yes.
And so when you say he was your best friend, did he live in the neighborhood? Did you work together? How were you friends prior to finding out that you were married to a monster?
We actually weren't friends prior to that. I knew of him, but we didn't really know each other at that point. He messaged me on Facebook and told me that he heard what happened and he's sorry and blah, blah, blah. And ever since then, we just kept talking. And I really, truly feel like my world got flipped upside down so I could be led to him.
Yes.
Because I have never, me and the kids are the happiest we've ever been in our life. It's like, this is who and where we were meant to be with.
Because do you feel that even though you were unaware of the horrible crimes that you were married to this man, looking back, you must have had a feeling of something is missing. Well, you knew for a year something was missing, which was his erection. And so you knew there was some cloud over not being completely connected to your spouse. But do you look back and have any thoughts about those years of anything else?
Like any other signs?
Or just or in your soul that now you have a different feeling with this husband?
Yes. Yes. I'm so glad you asked that. I feel like I didn't really know what love was. Honestly, I think I thought for 10 years I was in love, but really I was just devoted to being a good wife. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what being in love was until I met my husband. And it's just, I've never been this happy in my life. Me and the kids, especially, the kids are so happy. And Ruby thinks my husband is her bio dad. She doesn't know the difference right now. Mm-hmm. But whenever she's older, we'll have to tell her.
Mm-hmm. And so when you moved to Florida, is that where he was from, or did you guys do a move together?
We did a move together.
Oh, okay.
He lived in Oklahoma City.
And did he have any children or anything prior?
No.
Oh, this is just great.
I know.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
And I love that you are able to have kept your children's grandmother on his side. I think that's a beautiful thing that a lot of people don't get. Lots of times, the parent sides with the criminal child, or you know, it would be very understandable if you cut her out completely just because you just felt that way, you know? And then that's always very sad for that grandparent, you know, to then also lose their grandchildren as well as their child. So I respect that both of you were able to just do the right thing, you know, and that's really great.
She's been so supportive and awesome. She's amazing. I love her.
I'm really, really blown away by your story. Sadly, you're not the only person that has this story. I think it's great the way that we shed a light in sharing your story on how this happens with these young girls. It's a very similar story of how they get, you know, meet someone online and they're presented to someone else, and then, you know, that whole grooming.
Could I add one more thing that I forgot to tell you?
Anything you want to add?
Okay, because this is crazy, and I can't believe I forgot to tell you.
Okay.
So me and my husband, we were cleaning out the house because I could not walk into our bedroom after his arrest.
You and your second husband?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So we were cleaning out my bedroom and getting rid of everything, getting all of his stuff out of there. And we find in his closet a backpack. And inside the backpack was a secret phone. And I rushed to go plug the phone in and turn it on. And there's videos of him walking through Ross and Walmart, stalking women and children and recording their stuff up close.
What do you mean? Like he'd get behind them and put a phone under their skirt?
Yes. Children too.
How young?
Well, the youngest girl I saw had to have been about 7.
You know what's insane is that had he not been caught, you know, did this begin with watching what you quote unquote regular porn, like when he was working at the dealership, and then it got to younger, and then it got to actually contacting real human girls, and then it got to physically being with a 13-year-old girl? Would the next step have been even a 7-year-old girl? You know, like, or what would have, you know, just like a gate, why people talk about a gateway drug. Is there like a gateway to worse and worse? And then would it have gotten to a point where he may have really physically hurt someone, you know, that resisted them, or,
I think he was planning on murdering me, honestly.
Now, how do you feel about that? How did that come about?
Okay. I don't know how I forgot to tell you this too.
That's okay. We're gonna fix it. So then we'll do it. We'll do a re-ending. Okay, go on.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So after his arrest, I had this girl message me. She saw my story on the news. She messaged me and she was like, "I have been his girlfriend for the past year." And I was like, okay, seriously? Like, I'm not even shocked at this point because I'm already the most shocked I could be. But I was like, I'm going to need her to prove this to me. Mm-hmm. So I started asking her questions, and she basically, long story short, told me that they were planning on having a baby together, and he was planning on moving her into my house. And the night before his arrest was the only time I've seen evil come out of him. I got upset because he broke a childhood spatula of mine. It's not that big of a deal, but I was like upset and sad because it broke. And he picked up a big utensil holder and a glass one and threw it across the kitchen at me, and it smashed on my foot. And he's never gotten like that before. And I think the detective saved my life with him wanting to move her in and have a baby. I think.
So who was this girl? Did you ever meet her in person?
I did not meet her in person. She started getting hateful with me. And we started getting ugly.
How old was she?
She was 19. Yeah.
And so she contacts you and she's like, I've been his girlfriend for a year. He wanted to have my baby. And did she know? So she knew about you and that he had a wife and 2 kids.
She told me she didn't know he had a wife and 2 kids, but the problem with that is I went on a business trip to Florida. I was going to take him. I had 2 tickets. He told me to make it a girls' trip and go by myself and do something by myself for once. So I went ahead. It was just the weekend. Whenever I got back, I found a black hair in my shower. And he had a good excuse. I was over at my mom's house. I took off my clothes. I gave her a hug. I took off my clothes, got in the shower. Her hair fell in the shower. So it made sense to me.
So he was saying it was his mother's hair.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then whenever that girl messaged me, she told me that he picked her up at like 3 a.m. one night, brought her to our house, had sex with her in my bed. And she said that she didn't know about me, which I think is bullshit because our room has pictures of me and him everywhere.
Right.
It's Marilyn Monroe themed. My purses and clothes were everywhere. So that's why I don't believe that she didn't know about me.
And then when you say she was getting hateful with you on, when you were messaging each other, how was she doing that?
Because we talked for a while. I was super sweet to her, super respectful. And then whenever she told me that, I said, okay, there's no way you didn't know. There's no way you didn't know he was married. All of my stuff is in that room. So that's when she went off on me, called me a dumb bitch and everything else. And I blocked her.
Do you think, have you seen the Netflix documentary American Family about the guy who killed his wife and 2 little girls?
Yes, Chris Watts.
It's Chris Watts. And that was such a crazy story for people, obviously, that they appeared to be fine, and that why would he kill the children too? And, and there has been stories throughout the last 50 years where the man they call, family annihilation. He, when he talked about with this girl, if she said, I didn't know he had 2 kids, was he trying to act like they'd be together in the future without ever mentioning his children? Like, do you think that he could have been capable of having a Chris Watts moment?
I know for a fact, not for a fact, but in my soul, I feel like that's what was going to happen. He was going to take us out and start a whole new life.
And was there any kind of you said you sort of lived paycheck to paycheck. Was it ever feeling like, because one of the things with Chris Watts is I felt like, they were living beyond their means, and he wanted to just start over. And there was even stories about Chris Watts where there was a lot that wasn't included in that documentary, but where there was other people that said that they were having affairs with him, and one being a male. I think Chris Watts became a sex addict. There was nothing about getting with underage children, but this is just crazy. I'm just processing it all as I'm talking to you because I didn't know these parts of your story.
Yes.
When you look back at it, do you think that anything you said you think that he could have gone into a much worse place?
I told the detective straight up, I think you saved my life at the perfect moment, all of our lives. I think he was going to take us out that day. I think the universe stopped him in his tracks and said, no, you belong in prison, and saved us. And
did the detective ever say how long they were sitting on the information before they got the warrant to arrest? Did they know for months? Did they know for 2 days? Anything like that?
They had been investigating us for 6 months. They had all of our text messages, all in both of our Facebook accounts, phone calls tapped, and outside of our house, surveillance. investigating us, following us around. They had to make sure that I wasn't involved. So they had to watch my stuff too. So that terrified me.
But were they at all aware that he had a whole nother girlfriend as well, or not?
They knew everything.
But they weren't the ones to tell you that. The mistress was.
No, she told me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this is like incredible story of tragedy, and triumph. And I just applaud you. And so tell everybody where they can follow your story.
You can follow my story on TikTok. Brittanie Jenkins 11 is my TikTok. And then you can also add me on Facebook. It's just Brittanie Jenkins.
Brittanie, thank you so much. And hopefully there will be no update, that's about him getting out or anything. But if there is more of an update or more victims come out or you find out more, please let me know, because I know the Juicy Scoopers are going to want to know. And I'd love to, continue with your story. But hopefully it'll just go on to a nice family and you can enjoy your life and be able to talk about other things on social media besides this. But I think sharing your story is extremely helpful and important. And I know that you saved some people today,
Yay. That's all I ever wanted.
And made people that have younger kids start to maybe look into their social media and their electronics more and really make sure that their child, is never going to be a victim of this, or maybe they can share, if they're old enough or more mature enough, share this podcast with their teenagers, to just make them aware of what could happen.
They need to be aware of the Secret Calculator app.
What's the Secret Calculator app?
That is where he had everything hidden on his phone. On the screen, it looks like a calculator. But whenever you click on it, you can hide any videos, pictures, text conversations, anything in there.
I think Chris Watts had that.
I
think I read that he had that.
He did.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think everybody needs to grab their significant other's phone and just make sure that they can add and subtract on that thing.
Exactly.
Get ready. If you don't want to know, you might know, unfortunately. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me on. Seriously, thank you.
Well, thank you guys. And if you want a little comedy break, my stand-up special is now available on Pandora. That's right. You can listen to the audio album on the Pandora app, and you can download it and listen for free. So do that on demand. You can also find it on the comedy channels on Sirius, and you can search on that app to find it as well. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And remember, I'm wearing my Stay Inappropriate tie-dye sweatsuit. We have all the clothes, all the new merch, the hats, the coffee cups, everything. You go to heathermcdonald.net, click on store, see the pod swag that's available. You can order it in any size you choose, and it will come. So if you're ordering it for someone for the holidays, I would say get on it so that you get it before Christmas, or treat yourself. Everything's at heathermcdonald.net, including, of course, Patreon. So go there and have a wonderful day. And we have a brand new show for you on Thanksgiving, Thursday. That's right. I do never, ever take a break. Coming up on 500 episodes, leave me a 5-star review. I would love to get to a 5-star average. I went down to 4.5 for some weird reason. So I need to balance that out so that when I get to my 500 episodes, I can also shout from the rooftop that I have a perfect 5-star rating. Thank you.